Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted with many of my esteemed colleagues.
Nerdarchist Dave.
I'm Nate.
So today we have another viewer request from Philip Posey. What's his channel?
Maps and Dragons on YouTube.
And he wants our take on dungeon building as a kind of a somewhat of a new concept of the 5-room dungeon.
I'm not going to say it's new. It's new to us.
Okay, new to us. We've kind of been doing this DM bit for 2 decades or more for us, and we've kind of just done dungeons as we do them. But the 5-room dungeon says you've got an entrance or a guardian in one room. You've got a puzzle, a challenge, or a role playing in one room. You have some kind of trick or setback in a third. You've got your big bad monster, your campaign piece, and then your reward, your revelation or twist as your finale.
So what that is actually just a method for creating it. It doesn't mean there's 5 rooms in your dungeon. It
Right.
just means these 5 elements. In this method, you incorporate these 5 elements. Now, granted, I think we've probably been doing that for years without having a name for it.
Right.
So, I guess what Philip wants to know is what is our methodology? What do we do for creating the dungeon? And by the dungeon could actually be a dungeon. It could be a cavern. It could be an enchanted forest, the castle. I mean, a dungeon, by definition, a dungeon is really a confined space with limited options for the players to explore.
Right. Pretty much, my campaign design has changed with the evolution of my DMing style and the introduction of 5e. We took a little bit of break from the typical D&D for a while, and in kind of correspondence with that, 3rd edition we tended to play games that were more protracted out. You left town, you were adventurers as a full-time gig. So we would have campaigns where, you might spend 2 or 3 sessions in a single dungeon. So it's kind of hard to do that style of game, or that style of dungeon as an entire session, one after the other, and having those in each session. It tends to be a little wonky.
Yeah. So it's not a game problem. It's a player problem.
Right.
That we've come on.
So
we almost, if we want to do a big dungeon, we almost have to go Diablo style.
Basically, it's like, all right, you're going, fight after fight after fight, with a little bit of rewards here, a little bit of rewards there.
Oh no! I mean, you have to go back to town at the end.
Oh,
at the end of the session.
There's some kind of teleportation circle or easy way out that you find.
So with 5e, we tend to, or we try to have the start and end of each session take place in town. Not only because it makes it easier for players to come and go, oh, I can't make it this session, I can't make it that session. And 5e tries to make the push of, well, you're sometime adventurers, and you need to have some other kind of lifestyle, besides that. So with that kind of twist on role-playing, it fits more in design of other role-playing games that you have a life outside of being a quote-unquote hero.
Yeah, and like you said, that's just really a play style. I just did a dungeon really this past weekend when we played, and I ran the Maze of Mandoon, and it's not even the first time I ran it.
Nope.
I haven't run it for these guys before, and so I basically just took the concept of an idea of using a labyrinth, and again, it's a dungeon because you're in a confined space. You only have certain options that you can take. And in that, I incorporated several different elements for players to figure out. We had there was a magic fountain that had kind of a trick to it. Where there was actually a thing where there was a boon or a bane type thing, and you guys managed to invoke both. There was an encounter that was completely there for one reason and one reason only. And that was for role playing, for you guys to interact with.
That was the tree.
And that was someone that was turned into a tree, or kind of like a Trent that can't get up and move. And of course we had our big bad boss battle.
Who happened to keep popping up, and in one shot brought me to 1 hit point. I'm like, ow.
There's the trick there was a trick or a trap again with the doors, with magic doors that enthralled people that looked at them.
Right.
And the big bad was the Minotaur, and after the Minotaur, you guys escaped the labyrinth. The whole labyrinth itself was kind of like the revelation of an extension of what's going on in our campaign world with this chaos bleed and these magical things that happen randomly. And the first time I used this very same dungeon, it was enchanted hedgerows.
Right.
The second time,
spiky walls. That's slick with oil, and sometimes you get charged by a Minotaur and pushed into said wall. It hurts even more.
Right, and you guys never even tried to go up and over the walls.
Yeah, well, the tree warned us not to.
Yeah. Well, it was a good thing you guys didn't try, because it was this fear of annihilation.
Oh, lovely. Well, I'm glad we listened to that.
There was a reason why it was dark.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping you guys might test it out and throw something up there, and it would disintegrate and ashes would fall, and make you guys, oh, maybe I shouldn't go up there. Yeah. Which my first party, they did test to see about, why weren't things that could fly? Why didn't they fly out? And as soon as something traveled above the hedgerow, thorny spined vines would shoot out and grab whatever tried to, and then just totally massacre it.
Wow. I don't like the Mason Man do that.
So, originally upon hearing the five
room dungeon, right?
Yeah, I like passionately hated the concept. But if I think about, well, it's not really just 5 rooms, and I like developing. If I say I need to put my guy somewhere, and he's going to be in a cave or something like that, well, then he's in a dungeon.
Yes.
Whether it's a natural cave or whatever, or just a really big mansion you can't get out of for some reason. So whatever purpose, it's like I like to have the who originally, how was it created? Is it a natural cave? Did someone make it? Is the person using it right now the actual person that had it? So, I mean, it could have weird, crazy god statues and demigods and weird faces on corners and on pedestals and all these different other kind of things that are all religious icons from the people that originally created, maybe some kind of dragon cult or maybe some kind of religious order that abandoned it hundreds of years ago. And then now this guy is using it for his secret base operations, or some monsters have moved in, but they're still guarding some kind of treasure from a religious artifact or something. Whatever the purpose that you have there, whatever the reason the people are going there for it. I feel like, I guess it's a good spot to start, but I don't like the terminology of it. I don't know. Something that doesn't jive with my...
Well, you know what it is? It's the concept. So like I said, like when I did mine, I didn't use this concept, but intuitively, as someone who's been running games for a long time, you put those elements in there, and it's not about 5 rooms, it's about 5 elements. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like you're saying, well, what's the purpose? Why are they going there? And mine was, basically it's a big trap. And so, okay, mm-hmm. That's why they're there. Then their purpose is to escape. Then you take a step further. Well, what else is going on with this? Well, it's the hunting ground or domain of a Minotaur, the beast of Mandoon.
Mm-hmm.
Who never dies.
Or dies often, as the case may be. He's been killed twice already. But, so, and then from there you can work out the details. But like you said, anytime you do a dungeon, like you have to come up with, there's a couple questions you're going to have to answer. One is, why are they going there?
Mm-hmm.
What is the purpose? And 2, what is it there for?
Mm-hmm.
And are they the same things? Are they completely different? Mm-hmm. And then from there, I feel like you can kind of work outwards.
I look at so that we all give our unique feedback. When I create a dungeon, I'm as with every element to the game as a dungeon master, you're there to entertain your players. You're there to provide them with a story and something to do. So I try to put things in my dungeon that are going to fulfill those elements. Yes, you want to put you want to put your monsters in it. You want to put some kind of reward in it. Whenever possible, you always want to have insert role playing scenes. It could be your role playing might be your big bad and your role playing. When they show up for the fight, he could just start, monologuing. And players, regardless of how many jokes have been made on that, almost always people will sit there and listen to, what the bad guy has to say. You never know what information he's going to reveal. And if you go ahead and kill him and he had information, you might not get it. So people tend to just sit back and say, okay,
there's a Game Master tip right there. Every once in a while, as the Game Master DM, whatever the hell you're calling yourself, have your villain monologue and give out important information. So this way, in the future, your players would be like, oh, what if he says something I need to hear? Or if they murder him, be like, oh, he would have been nice to know what he was going to say.
So you've got that situation where, he can reveal that information or just warn the players that he's a badass and they might not want to try and kill him. And you put that little bit of fear into them of, well, are we actually, able to take this guy?
Do we need to take this guy?
Yeah, the DM put it big. Surely we can beat him.
So you've got that, that situation
That's
that you can have that role-playing element part of something else.
Although there's the other side of that. Spoonie said it best. If you stat it, they will try to kill it.
Yeah.
There's stats for, Tarask in pretty much every edition of D&D, and I've never tried to kill one.
I think I've fought a Trask in my earlier days.
I've heard other people, and I fought a Rask in somebody's, unique campaign world. They're like mini Tarasks.
Yeah, I remember us harvesting the parts after it died. And that was way in the Munchkin days.
So... yeah, you can stat anything and people can try and kill anything, but ultimately, it's there, and your players are going to do whatever they're going to do. But if you set out to make that dungeon, as you said, why are the players?
I'm going to totally interrupt you now. I so want to have a Tarask swallow the party, and that's the dungeon.
Like a colossal monster, just.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's not like I haven't done that recently anyway, but...
Well, we voluntarily entered that giant purple worm in space.
But, you have those two questions of, why is the party going there and why is the dungeon there? Those are your basic questions to start, and, make sure you put stuff in there that your players are going to enjoy. So that's my take on it.
That's your take. Yeah, that's at the end of the day. What is interesting for them to interact with, aside from whatever the actual goal is? So is it just going to be a slog through monsters, or is it going to be fun and interesting, and they're going to get to experience different things along the way?
And we both have been in and both have run both types of those encounters.
I could go for a monster slog every once in a while, though.
Well, and then like this is one of the things I always agonized on when I would develop. My dungeon was the actual ecosystem.
Yeah.
I would spend a lot of time trying to figure out how can all these things coexist in the same space and not just eat each other instead of the party.
It's like goblins are in a locked room. Why? Did they lock the door?
Yeah. Why are they rolling dice in the middle of a dungeon with nothing else in the room?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
And then 15 feet down the corridor, there's a terrible monster. And you're like, why is he there?
Well, apparently they've locked themselves in the room so the monster doesn't eat them.
Yeah, it must just not know how to pick locks, I guess. Or bash down doors.
So like that's like that for me was always like the struggle. And that was the thing that I always kind of focused on is like the purpose of the dungeon, and then I fill it with monsters, and it's like, well, how can all these monsters be in the same space and area and not be in conflict? How does this work? And then I would spend a lot of time figuring that stuff out and placing my monsters according to some
lot of work.
It's just some crazy kind of monster ecology in a dungeon.
As awesome as that is, did any of your players ever ask a question or acknowledge?
No, they didn't even care. They didn't even care why the kobolds could live down the hall from the cave fisher and the Adiugs. They didn't even care.
Well, hopefully you didn't cry over it.
I did many nights. I spent up restlessly.
All the effort.
Please, Jesus, can next time they please acknowledge the hard work I put in as a DM and why the kobolds could get along with the goblins and the Adiug and the cave fisher.
I will tell you, I will share my DMing experience. The players never appreciate how much work you do.
Yeah, sad but true.
Unless you do a very, very small amount of work and make it look good.
Well, that's true.
And then they're like, this was awesome. I want to do it again.
Micro
And
DMing.
you're like, oh, man, good. I totally came here with nothing, guys. Awesome.
Yeah, I pulled that one out of my butt.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Yeah.
So, you guys have anything you want to leave the folks out there with for about building their dungeons? Your one pro tip?
Go for
I'm
it.
going to go with leave yourself some wiggle room. It's a dungeon, but it's not done until the players have explored everything, including the secret rooms that you may have just invented. So, always leave a way, not necessarily a way out, but always leave that extra little bit, like have that in your mind. This is empty space. It's really rock, but maybe there's something behind there that I might just stick in right at the end for fun.
For a kind of a role playing tip, one of the things you might want to take into consideration is with a lot of dungeons, you are talking about monsters' homes. So if you've got somewhat of a sentient race, make sure you describe the dungeon and put the things so that you kind of touch on the fact that you're in somebody's home. So if you've got living quarters and foodstuffs. Maybe the PCs might be a little, hesitant to just, murder everything in their path.
Be a good house guest. That is your.
Well,
your
I mean,
tip.
just
It could go a long way.
you don't know what people are gonna do, and if you're talking about a bunch of heroes that are, I'm gonna just go murder an entire warren of goblins. It's like,
Yeah, we actually do know what they're going to do. They're going to go murder a whole warren of goblins, especially the women and children.
What else are the goblins there for? You got to crack them open and extract their XP.
Oh,
XP
man.
in this pile, treasure in that pile, throw the body to the vine, Joe.
Yeah.
So we got Nate's pro tip of lie through your teeth. They don't know what's really going on. We got Ted's murder all the goblins, especially the women and children.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I feel like there's a little negative spin going on in my
And I'm going to
suggestion.
leave you guys with make it personal to your players.
Kill them. At least one of them.
So
There, see? You like how I spun yours?
So this way they remember what's going on and what happened. But anyway, yeah, try and make it personal to them. Make something happen in that dungeon that becomes personal to just one player in the group. Or more than one, but at least one. Try and,
Get their heartstrings.
get under the skin of that player and their character.
If you have any suggestions that you would like to share, go ahead and put them in the comments below. While you're doing that, don't hesitate to click like, share, and subscribe.
You can also join the conversation on Reddit or subreddit.
Or you guys can hang out with us at Facebook on our fan page, Nerdarchy.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.